Hey, what's up, everybody? BDF 44 coming to another video. Alright, so I figured I'd do a therapy session since I hadn't done one in about maybe 2-3 days. I'm gonna be honest with y'all. I was sick, man. All them videos I've been doing about Kyrie Irving and these last 3 days, I've been ill. Like, body's like ill, man. uh, yeah, sparing y'all the details. It just ain't been good. So, I think I'm well now. I think that's the best way to put it. I think I spent Sunday and Saturday getting back to 100%. I forced myself to work out through the entire sickness, so I didn't really actually feel as sick as I knew myself to be. And it became a situation where, um, you know, I got better. I made sure I was better. I changed my diet a little bit. I think what ended up happening was the seasoning that I was using on my food. I think I tried to pre-season. I think I told you guys I probably even pre-seasoned on my channel while making a video, but yeah, the seasoning that I used, my body rejected it. And I think when you pre-season, meaning putting chicken and seasoning together and hot sauce and all that and putting it in the freezer, maybe that's not the move for me. Maybe that's not the way to go, especially when the seasoning becomes something I'm allergic to. And this has happened to me many times over the last 3 years, where I'll be able to eat something and then all of a sudden my body will just immediately reject it. And maybe it's because I eat the same thing over and over and over again, to eventually it just becomes a situation where the consistency probably just overwhelms it. Maybe I just, whatever's in it probably just becomes too much for the body. I don't know, but for someone who doesn't switch up his diet, I'm starting to see some negative effects to not switching up the diet. So things that we learn when we're by ourselves, but at this point, I had to remove the seasoning. Anything garlic is a no-go for this person now. Allergic to garlic. So learning new things. And either I'm allergic to garlic or they put something in the seasoning that I am allergic to that wasn't in there before, which is possible. So yeah, man. Now I'm trying to season with just hot sauce, and my body doesn't really love that, but at least I'm not allergic to it. So I gotta figure something out. But yeah, man, my food is bland. If I want to eat, I have to have bland food, pretty much. So I don't know. It's just life. When you get old, the body just doesn't love you anymore. It starts kicking your butt. But nevertheless, what it does do is force me into being healthy, as I've once mentioned. Now, obviously, with my workout habits and my force-fed, strict diet, my body rejects everything. It allows me to stay lean and look like I'm in good shape and doing well. But the reality is, I don't know what the hell's going on with my body at all. But there's no pain. That's the good thing. There's no pain, but it's just a lot of bad side effects. So it is what it is. But I feel great right now. I feel better now. Some of those side effects are gone. Those workouts really help. Pushing myself pretty good yesterday to get back at it, because last week I was dealing with the sickness. And even though I was doing my squat regimen, some of that lifting I just didn't have the energy to do. I was spending a lot of time in bed. And, I was just making the content, making these playlists, so I stayed active. And like I said, it wasn't no real pain, but it was fatigue, and you could tell the food issue was a continuous one throughout the week. But I finally came around to figure out what it was that was causing it. So I discarded of everything that had to do with that. And so a new week, new diet, and we'll see how the approach goes. But I think stress had a lot to do with it too. That T-Mobile situation really weighed heavy on me the first 3 days of the week. With that looming, thinking they were going to cut me off and trying to figure out if I was going to be able to secure the money in time for them to do it before they did it, and continue to apply the pressure after me asking for an extension. But apparently they still haven't cut me off, despite sending me emails every 3 days telling me that the money ain't arrived for the extension they provided. But that money should be in account probably now or tomorrow around 2:00 when everything works that way. So they will have whatever it is I feel like giving them. I don't think I'm giving them the whole thing, because they're taxing on extra fees on top of extra fees. And right now they've inflated the bill above what I even extracted in total, let alone what I set up for them. So as far as me giving them everything they're asking for, there's zero chance that happens. So yeah, meanwhile, the other folks haven't given me what it is they owe me from the cell phone situation. So I got to contact the BBB tomorrow and let them know the 5 days has passed and the situation has not been resolved. I gave him the weekend. It's been more than 5 days, but I figured, business, count the weekend. So as a private citizen, I figured I wouldn't count the weekend either, but they didn't tell me anything of sort. That was just my choice. So we'll see what happens. This is Monday. Everybody has a new week. Hopefully everybody does whatever, they're supposed to do, so we ain't got to take extra steps in that way. But, it's just a lot of madness. But I've been doing pretty good the second half of the week. After I settled into what needed to be done, securing what I needed to secure, getting some groceries in here, which was a big deal too, because while I was eating that bad food, I also wasn't getting some of the other stuff that my body normally gets, because I had just run out and didn't secure the money. Same situation, so couldn't get groceries right away, but I was able to get that probably around Wednesday, and have been eating a little better these last couple of days, so that also helped with the overall process of learning what should not be eaten, that kind of thing. So you know what I mean? When you're dealing with stress, dealing with food allergies, you're dealing with, trying to stay busy with everything that you're interested in, and then you're dealing with just the overall natural way your brain works, which is keep you from being awake at normal hours. It's been a tough week. It's been a tough week on top of having a lot of fun doing the channel while not feeling good. It's been weird. Like I tell you, man, I think another thing that I've been struggling with is obviously just dealing with myself in this isolated mindset is my weed desire, my weed habit, as I've told you guys about. But I really think that weed helped me through this week. I ain't gonna lie. And that was part of why the sickness wasn't so glaring for me. It's because I spent a good portion of that doing a little more smoking than I normally do, coping with the stress of the week. And the first half of the week, I wasn't enjoying my weed. It was a situation where the stress was overcoming. But when things started to settle in, I was able to kind of loosen up a little bit, I guess you could say, straightening things out, take care of business on my end, made it so that the stress was at least a little more palatable. The pressure that they were applying was a bit more easy. And I think that's what it really comes down to as I self-assess. I just realized that my stress indicators are all out of whack, man. A mountain is a molehill is a mountain from my brain and my intake of stress, unfortunately. And, as I continue to try to strengthen myself spiritually, I realize that I become no stronger in that way. It's like I can't will myself out of that thus far. Now, over time, I'd imagine I'll have more breakthroughs that'll help me with that. But as of right now, even the slightest bit of stress feels like the worst if it affects me physically. And while I know it's easy to make fun of people who have that, you know what I mean? It's like, oh, you weak. But what I'm finding is that it fluctuates. Like there are certain times in my life where I'm not as weak to stress as I might find myself being right now. Not as nervous about pressure as I would be feeling right now. It's a strange thing. As I told you guys, when I was like 12, I had anxiety attacks. I don't have those right now. I haven't had anything like that. That's a much deeper, much more intense level is what I'm trying to say, of the concern of stress that weigh upon me. So we're not even close to that. But as far as me dealing with certain things that should otherwise just be handled with a phone call or two, it feels like the world is weighing down on me. And I think it's because I've done a good job of kind of pulling myself away from things that matter in that regard, discarding of them as if they don't, and putting them off till now. And so those decisions, they have to come around to paying the negative dividends that come with that eventually. So with anticipating the worst coming, which can go a million different ways, but in your mind is inevitable. You just sit there and stress about it, or stay in denial about those stresses and hide yourself in the various things that you love to do. That's what I've been doing. And, it's failing. It's not providing what's necessary to keep things going, just like it never did. And it's never intended to take anything other than away the stress. So that's what it is, man. I love what I do, but it doesn't pay me anything. So we sit here in situations, unnecessarily stressful, because the mind is trying to hide from the stress that comes with dealing with those things. So it's a cycle of stress that I've been praying myself out of, and have had no success. And then, as I've said, like, I think that some of that is a struggle in position that may serve a purpose to the divine for allowing me to have the time to do certain things and have the mind to do certain things at a certain time that otherwise wouldn't be if I were living a quote unquote normal uh, life with a normal way of looking at things. So for me being as I am, I just struggle with the understanding that even though this is not good for me, it allows me to do things that I feel are great in a way that otherwise could not be done. So I guess that's what gives me the solace to keep going. But I've reached the point where I'm like, I don't know if I have the will to stay in this space and feel as if things are okay as I have. I don't know that I would be afforded much time to do that, nor do I feel like my stress indicators will allow me to sit still. And so what I wonder is which direction will I go? Because I honestly don't feel within myself, nor have I ever chosen to go against these stress indicators for any reasons whatsoever. But if I'm forced away, I obviously have to react. So these are the type of things that I've just found myself struggling with in the past. When my mother was going through her cancer situation, I went through the same thing. I couldn't bring myself to really do anything, and I may have mentioned this, but jog. I jogged every day and slept all the other hours. I would jog during the day, sleep in the afternoon, and then wake up at night, smoke. You know what I mean? Go out with friends and stuff like that. But during the day, I just couldn't bring myself to really do anything until I started learning to appreciate going to, just on different outings by myself with my, on the train or something like that. I would smoke a little weed and go out, ride to like Chatsworth or something like that on the train or whatever, and then just slide back, or ride out to Long Beach and slide back. That's when I really started to snap out of that in a way, but I still couldn't bring myself to do normal activities that were necessary for my circumstance. And so it just became a problem for me. Just ultimately just ended with me not being able to take care of my situation. And so, the cycle, it remains. And while we're in this space for different reasons, for reasons that make sense to me, which is what is really confusing, because I've stood here for a good reason in regards to holding my shares and all of that, trying my very best to keep within this ape movement, which I'm very much still going strong in. And it's one of those situations where that has been the driving force behind all of what I've done. As you guys know, if you followed the earlier therapy sessions, you were there with me. And, as I've mentioned and reflected on many, many, many times in these therapy sessions, I just couldn't keep it going for the same reason that I couldn't get it going all my life with these various things. It's just stress indicators, predetermined fears or what have you, the anticipation of things going wrong, or trauma. It just ultimately keeps me at a place of isolation and standstill. And I don't know why that comes so comfortably to me, instead of exploring the world and being normal and enjoying my life properly. But I've learned to love the space I'm in, and I've learned to be extremely productive this way. It comes naturally to me. And if I could live this way all my life, I don't know that I would walk away from this space. If anything, I probably just get weaker and weaker, and my stress, and the abilities, to take on stress would just get worse and worse. And so that's what I understand. I wouldn't recommend anybody willingly walk into an isolated space and stay there for any prolonged length of time, because you will most definitely realize what it is that I've told you to some degree within yourself. Now, the longer you stay away from things that pressure you or stress you, the weaker you're going to become to those types of stresses and pains. Just like anything else, you must condition yourself one way or another. Over the years, I've conditioned myself for comfort. I've conditioned myself for isolation and shelter. I've conditioned myself for being able to surmise things surrounding me while standing still. And so, while I may have it together as it pertains to surmising what's around me, I'm a very good surveillance camera as it pertains to functioning within my own space. it's almost like I'm not aware of my own surroundings or the necessary need for me to be doing things while the world is moving around me. And so that's really the problem. It's like, for a person who's highly self-conscious, it can become a thing. And so I've expressed some of my experiences in that way too, where I'd just be a nervous wreck in the presence of others trying to do very simple tasks, and it could be an issue. You know what I mean? Little stuff like that doesn't happen to people who don't have these issues. You know what I mean? That's to where I don't feel like I'm overly awkward in the presence of others because I grew up in social settings. This period of isolation has made it so that I know that I'm socially awkward at this point. It's not even a question. I know what this does to the brain. I've had conversations with my friends about not doing this for this reason. So I was not confused about what could take place if I allowed this to happen, but I just couldn't stop myself from doing it because it was already like this. This is my natural state. It was the other stuff that was more or less not coming naturally to me, so to speak. But I speak all this truth and expose these weaknesses, so to speak, because I don't think they're weaknesses at all. I think the Lord made me exactly who I want to be, who He wanted me to be, rather. And unfortunately, I just have to live the way that He wants me to live and live in this space until things ultimately transpire. You know what I mean? Whatever the world is going to be for me, I just have to accept the fact that in the moment He's giving me a responsibility. And that's to speak. He's giving me passions and things to speak about that don't have nothing to do with the mission, so to speak, that'll allow me to enjoy speaking. And so I speak of it as if God is giving me this stuff because I truly believe that. I think a lot of people look at me and say, no, there's no God. You did this yourself. I say, something sparked my consciousness. It's like I say for you, it's like if there's no God, something turned on your engine lights. Like, you know what I mean? You woke up to something, and that something was already going before you got here. So obviously there's a lot of context to learn, and the more you learn, the more you realize you don't know as much. So that's what I've come to understand with this type of brain. It's like, okay, I'm open-minded. I want to be open-minded because I have an understanding that context is lacking. I don't trust that anyone has full context because everything is layered. The more I open up understanding, the more I realize there's more questions to ask rather than understanding to obtain. So it's like everything's a science. Everything can be worked on. Everything can be mastered. Everything can be challenged one way or another. So as I continue to look at various things that are in place around me, as I sit still and struggle with myself, I'm like, well, shoot, these things make sense. They miss and match. And while everybody's running around doing what they're supposed to do to keep their surroundings together, they're missing some of these pairings and these various things that are hidden in plain sight because they're meant for you to miss them because you're moving and doing what you're supposed to be doing in life. It's almost like looking at, if you ever seen the episode of The Flash when, he's able to phase, as he calls it, and he can shake really, really fast and blend through, matter, kind of phase, so to speak, straight through things, teleport through things by way of extreme speed. It's sort of like that. It's like if you're moving really, really fast, there's going to be certain things that maybe you're able to do or not do based on your positioning in that space. But if you stand still, obviously it's going to have an entirely different effect on what it is that you're looking at. And so that's kind of my position. That's the position God has created me to have based on how my mindset is, how it handles self, how it handles the world, coming at it, so to speak, how I perceive the world, and then the various creative possibilities that He's given me with what type of brain I have, man. So it is what it is. I struggle with self, but not necessarily with things that I think other people need to be able to see. In some cases, and I'm way off in a lot of cases, and I'm pretty sure all of it's documented. So that's really where I'm at with it. All of it is documented on this channel, and I was going to segue that into its entirely different point because that's what I really came on here to do. And since this is a therapy session, and because this is BDF's channel, I'm going to do that. I'm going to do that exact thing. I'm going to pretend you ain't been listening for the last 20 minutes and start an entirely different topic about an entirely different thing, which was always my intention to begin with. So I just got through watching Wallow and Gilly. Wallow and Gilly got their channel, and they just did a sit down with the J Prince family. Now, I don't know of the J Prince family other than to say that my whole life I've been told that they are the real deal by both the internet and people I respect in my own personal life. They have told me that Houston, those are the guys that you talk to. If you got some money in Houston and you're in the hip hop world, you're a black person, chances are you either know them or you know of people who know them, do business with them, and they are true to life, real folks. If you know what I know, then you know what I'm saying. Those are real ones. And so I like, all right. And I've been hearing this longer, about as long as the internet's been on. Like, that's how long I've known of Jay Prince and his Rap-A-Lot Records and their family. And so when I watched the hour that I just watched, where he was on there with his son and the individual that was ultimately there in the event that transpired surrounding their name, where rapper Takeoff, condolences to his family, was ultimately murdered in the situation. Now, what I understand is that when we talked on this channel about the memorial, and we brought to the attention of everybody what we understood in regards to the memorial, the infinity link was there in between the names, and I thought that was overlooked. The infinity link being like a 8 on sideways 8 for those who don't know, which equals infinite. The equality of things going and continuing forever. But that was what Takeoff used, and Quavo used as one of their emblems for the duo album, and I just thought that was overlooked because it did signal that the Prince family was acknowledging Takeoff in their memorial, since they had their name in roses and they only had that infinity link there. It was as if they were acknowledging themselves more so. And my thing was, that's a position that people often take in certain situations, depending on how they're structured in their what they have going on. Obviously, it can be complicated, I guess you could say. So their positioning and what they want to present may reflect the complexities of the circumstance. I think, all in all, what I saw today after watching an hour of that was more of the same. As a family, they position themselves against something that could be, very serious, and I just felt like addressing it on Gilly's channel just brought about a different light to their family that I don't know is going to help them in regards to what it is that they're trying to present to the world, which is that they are a strong conglomerate of black men, you know what I mean, who should be taken very seriously. At this point, they look like a conglomerate of black men who are about to go through something very serious, and that's why I'm speaking on it. It's like, to me, I just don't think they really did themselves a whole lot of favors when I watched that interview. When you get on stage and you understand that the whole America is watching you, you don't at all want to come off as if you are trying to position yourself against a side. And that's exactly what they did. And now, that was my perception of what I saw based on some of the words that were said, and the way that they were positioning themselves to defend against the circumstance that took place where Takeoff lost his life. I just thought a lot of what was said insinuated certain things that otherwise you should not even be speaking on. And I think that's deliberate in this case. And I honestly felt like Jay Prince and all of his strength, he felt like a concerned father to me. He looked like a concerned father to me. That's what I can honestly say to you. And all of that took from that position, and all of that took from what was said the whole hour. I just felt like that was a man who was saying, I will defend my son with all that I have. I would defend my sons and right or wrong. And I just felt like it's almost like in watching, and I've talked about this situation, I pair things together, so forgive me for bringing up another painful situation. But Ricky Smiley, rest in peace to Brandon Smiley. We share a name, you know what I mean? His son passed away a few days ago, and I just looked at Jay Prince and I just felt like that example, if it didn't resonate with Mr. Prince, I think it resonated with me in regards to pairing these situations together. And I just felt like that him speaking, sitting down with his son, sitting down with the other individual, talking to Willie and Wallow in the way that he did, to me almost felt like this is me telling everyone, including those who would lock me away forever, that this position is necessary for me to take because I'm protecting my family. And I know how I look right now, and I know what could probably come of this, but this is what I think has to happen. And I felt like that. I felt like that's what he was doing. It's almost like he's crashing out in a very, very subtle way. I felt like that was a whole crash out interview where essentially he was saying all that he needed to say to position himself in a way to have to follow through, and whatever he has to follow through if it comes to that. That's what I took from it, and I'd imagine everybody who watched it took the same thing. Been in the game for a long time, respected for this long, you know what I mean? But sometimes it just be that one circumstance that puts everything on the line and forces you into a position where you have to drop everything you've been working on and just protect something that you love. And I think, as my brain always does, that is a manipulatable position to put a person in. You can maneuver a guy by way of circumstances being positioned a certain way for a guy that powerful to not have to do something like this, and that could be the very thing that those who needed him to fall have been waiting for him to do. This is chess, not checkers, and all of this looked funny to me. And the way that he felt like he had to speak about the individuals involved in the situation, the way that he was talking about the other person in the situation, bringing up paperwork in regards to the shooter who allegedly started all of this. The way that they were talking about him, very, very reckless. Very reckless. But I don't think it's a mistake. I really believe they positioned themselves, and I just feel like I just don't understand why context. When I speak of context earlier in myself, we don't know, we unload the layers of context. I just don't understand how we as a society, all of us, are missing the need to apply context to certain situations. Granted, we don't have context necessary, but I think that's the point. We have no idea what they're dealing with. So this, in my opinion, should not be for my consumption. This ain't internet stuff. And those who are putting this on TV, those who are putting this on the internet, know that this isn't something that should be on the internet, because it could lead to a lot of stuff that doesn't have people ending up doing well, however that looks. And I just, again, is yet looking at this as another example of that. But we're toying with real life situations. And I think it's going to have horrible repercussions for people that don't deserve to have themselves hit by those repercussions. It usually does. And I just don't know, when are we going to start looking at who's creating or manipulating or allowing for that environment. I tell you, man, it's a sad situation when you just understand that the only way people can truly not be held against is if they don't have nothing to lose. If you're trying to position yourself against the whole world, you better not have something that's going to pull you away from that if you think you're going to take over. You can't have a son or anything that would otherwise compromise your mission if that's what you on. Because the moment that son is in any type of danger, that mission go left. So I tell all these people to pretend to be gods. They think they gods. They get uncomfortable when people challenge that God within them. You had better challenge it yourself. Because these are the type of things that create the environment for you to be this scared for your kids. That ego, that ambition is why you find yourself at some random day in 2023 in these positions having to do all this. Because you created that environment by having that ambition and not caring about other people's sons all the way up until this moment. The way we discard our lives, but then in that same breath, look in the mirror and say we care about our kids. Everybody got kids, bro. You can't play God and then pray to God in the same breath. You don't play God with other people's children. Say, some people do. This dude, he shouldn't. He deserve. What? He deserved? That's somebody's kid. He deserved. Your kid right next to you talking about he deserved. We gotta look at this. And it's like, man, you present this image, but then your kid is right there, bro. You know what that image provides him? That's a blowback. See, I don't think we know how to get where we're going, man, with our energy. We have all this ambition. We love who we love. We have this interest in what it is we care not about. If it don't affect me and mine, I ain't with it. We have that about us. But when somebody else has that about them and it affects our loved ones and our seeds, when they don't care about the people around them and they pull their gun out and start shooting at whoever's shooting at them and it hits your son, then you're concerned about who did what and why. But when it's time to shoot out at who you think deserve it, it's collateral damage. You got to get your man. He shouldn't have did what he did, disrespect me. But like, respect goes a million different ways, not just one way and two ways. Nah, it's a million different people watching you disrespect yourself when you wage your war against this person. In the name of what? Your honor. How can you be honorable in this if this is what it comes to? That ain't real honor, bro. We got to protect our seeds. If our very ambition is going to bring about the environment for them to not be safe, how is it that it's truly honor? How can we survive our honor? How can our bloodline survive our honor if for not our ability to just throw it all away in a crash out mission? I don't understand how people can reach so high, reach such heights. Money's supposed to be the root of everything. This man got more money he could spend, but he doesn't understand that his energy is ultimately not something that's going to be good for his family. His energy, brother. There's no forgiveness. There's no empathy for the other person's seed, but you want us to empathize for you and yours. And you can tell us you have condolences this, condolences that, but what also comes out of your mouth is that person deserved it, this person deserved it, we don't take disrespect, don't ever threaten me, don't ever. That's all language that is understood. And because it's understood, no one's confused. The only people who are confused are the ones who don't understand the language, and that's fine. It's not everybody's going to understand the language, but at the end of the day, those who read energy well going to understand it. And brother, that can't be the hypocrisy we stand in and expect that not to blow back on our children. You're waging war against God. That's a generational curse you will receive. Everybody is his somebody. That's what I've come to learn. If you're a believer in God, then you know. If you have these thoughts like I've had that some people deserve it and some people don't, the closer you get to God, the more you realize it ain't your call. It ain't your call, not because he wants to belittle your position. It's because you can't surmise. You don't have the context to know what is all there to see. And eventually your position will have a blowback on somebody has no business being on. This is the truth. It's not what we're taught. It's just what the butterfly effect of certain things actually is. And see, that's the problem. We do things, we don't know what comes with what. We want things, but we don't know what comes with what we want. And we're not taught to question those things at all in the society because we haven't evolved into a way where the society is thinking that way itself. But I'm telling you, things happen because of stuff. Some things just don't need to be done, even if you're in a position to do it. Even if it makes sense to do, even if your ego tells you it should be done, even if you think cause and effect is going to bring about a certain effect, it may not bring that. It may be extra hot that day. Changes everything. Do you see what I'm saying? And that's for which we don't control determines more of what it is we think it does. We have all these big plans. What if it's just simply really too cold that day? Just too cold. Now you can't go nowhere because it's that cold. No, whatever your little plans, whatever you doing back and forth, it's not going to happen now. And these are the type of things, like I know who's in control of that. Same person who gave you that son that you worried about losing. God, he's in control of all that. So when we say who can do what or what we gonna do, how we gonna protect this or put ourselves in position to where we have to sin against God every which way, you got to point a gun every direction you go just to maneuver because of what's come out of your mouth, because of what all this what your ambition do. You get out in the streets and it's too big and you just got to strengthen yourself no matter what. Then the rubber meets the road, which it always does, because the walls gonna close in on you because we know who's in control of those walls, and it ain't nobody black. I'm sorry. I don't care how many secrets you know, they'll put you away. And they'll put everybody you know away too. And that's the thing I'm wondering, like Jay Prince, the way he positioned himself, it's almost like he thinks it just doesn't fall on him. And it's like, I know that he's probably been in some rooms. I know he's probably overheard some secrets. So it probably gave him a position to think he could, it'll be fine. But nah, you black, bro. You black. What does that mean? That means they hate you more than they love themselves. That's what it means. They will betray all of that just to position themselves against black. For some of them, it really is that real, bro. While you run around thinking you John Gotti. No. You don't have the skin to win, Jay Prince. You do not have that skin, brother. And see, the thing about it is people are so afraid to tell him that because they know, it's people that worship the man, like literally. But I'm telling you, if you worship somebody, you want the best for them. Just like I do on this channel, I'll be like, God, is there anything you want me to pray for? God, a happier you is a happier us. I say that every day in my prayers. A happier you is a happier us. So if you're unhappy with something I'm doing, let me know, because I don't want you blowing back anger at us. We love you, God. Praise you. Don't bring down no 10-pound boulder of hell on our head just because you're angry. Because I adhere to such a thing. Anything good come to me, any son that I receive, I know it's going to go back to him someday, hopefully after I'm gone. But every good thing. I know the woman that I love, she come from God. So if the next woman come around trying to take me from her, it definitely ain't come from him. You see what I'm saying? Now, that doesn't apply to everybody. Sometimes you meet somebody new, it's changed. But what I'm saying is in this situation, and what I'm saying to you, you're not going to find that blessing very often. That's not how it comes. The good things come from him, and the good things go back to him, just like the water. It's like everything else cycles. And so you can't control that. If son does something that gets it in a space where everybody's in a position, yeah, you can do the best you can to protect them. But at the end of the day, if he put everybody in a position, he's got to deal with his consequences with God. Whether we try to protect them or not, we just going to get caught up in that. I think the best thing a father can do is pray, not flex. Not tell the world I'm going to crash out and cause more pain to protect mine. When everybody got a mind, and you're going to hit theirs, and what they going to do? Have that same ambition against you and everybody else? Whoever. It just keeps passing forward. We keep relaying that same stuff. We lay down in our graves and our kids pick it up and they run with it. I keep telling y'all. It's going to be another Prince family 20 years from now with a different name trying to run around trying to pretend it was him. Just like he run around trying to pretend he was some Italian mobster or something. It's past energy, bro. And it caused all these people heartache and pain. They end up sad fathers and have crying wives because they do this stuff and they pass this nonsense. I'm trying to help somebody. All I do is sit still and watch people move, man. And I know what they're running into. They're running into walls. They're running into wars with God. And they don't even hate God. They just love ambition. They just want to feel like they accomplished something in their lives before they leave. They want to feel like they're powerful in the midst of people who think they're powerful. It's all bull. It's all bull, man. Because God is in control of it all. He'll make it too hot and none of it'll matter. And I'm telling you, the more I deal with my struggles, the more I sit still, the more he wants me to talk. I can't even tell you how many different things I felt spiritually in regards since I started this channel and started speaking this way. Stuff that I've never experienced in my entire life. Energies that want me to speak, energies that want me to be silent. I can't even express to you how crazy I felt, literally crazy, since I started speaking like this. Because at the end of the day, I know there's energies out there that want me to do all different types of stuff as it pertains to this type of truth. This wages war against real evil. Not the little petty evil that we think is bad guys and good guys. No, but the stuff that creates the environments for which they thrive. That's what I wage war against with my words. That's who the Lord is waging war against every day. That's the real evil in the world, not the little small evil. No, it's the stuff that inspires continuous evil. Inspires people to continue to be lulled into lures that ultimately keep them from having their freedom and keep their families unsafe. I know what does this, these shiny objects. These political representations that make us feel like we're powerful because we have numbers. You are more strong when you are by yourself in a prayer space with God. Because anything waged against you has to get through him to get to you when you're in that space with him. It's what I've come to learn when I stand alone. None of y'all stronger than me when I have my relationship with God intact, because nothing is to be feared about your mortal body. Only the waging against the spirituality that comes against us all every day in many forms. This is what I'm about. And I don't know how I'm going to sustain because I'm like this, but I don't think any cell in my body cares about that. Because I know if the words are said, they'll eventually be heard. If the words have intention in the right spirit, they'll be influential no matter who's saying them. They will get where they need to go no matter what is being said. And so what I need to do, in my opinion, is to just keep my spirit right. My head will never be right. I was born this way. But because I was born this way, I have a tool, and that tool will allow me to do things that I know he wants me to do. It allows me to be connected to him in ways that I can't make any sense of, but I am certain of just the same. You know, I don't fear much of anything that I should, all the stuff that I shouldn't. But I can tell you one thing, I sensed real fear, actual fear, when I was watching Jay Prince up there sitting next to his son, talking about this situation. Because I know what he's scared of. He's scared of losing his son. He's scared. More than anything else. More than strong, more than anything else. He's scared. He's a concerned father. And so that's what I'll say, man. If you want to really protect your kids, you got to stay out of them rooms. You got to stay out of the circumstances. You got to stop. You got to kill that ego before it gets to this point where everything is positioned for you to just either stand on the, fall on the sword or step off the throne. And it's, sometimes it's too late to do the second. It's too late to do the latter. Now it's time to fight or flight. Everybody's watching, and especially those who are ready to throw you in cages forever. And those are the ones you have to ignore the most, because the imminent danger may be right in front of you. You don't have 6 months to even play around in regards to worrying about them locking you away forever. You're going to die before that type of stuff. It's like, why even step into that arena in the first place? Why would that even be something that brings your ambitions in? You know nothing good come with that. Or maybe you don't. Maybe I was lucky to be raised by somebody who told me that nothing good comes of that. That you can't keep nothing you do when you build that way. I don't care how high you build your tower to the sky. If it's built in mud, it's coming to the ground. You stuck it in mud, it's coming to the ground. And that's exactly what happens when we riddle everything we do in negative energy and start forgetting our position when we're in this country as African Americans, when we reach for the stars, get all the money in the world, travel all over the world, but still come back here and think we can be gods. You can't be gods in this land. You can't. This is the hub of white supremacy, black man. You cannot be a god in this land. I don't care how much ambition and money you get. Here? Nope. Not here. I'm telling you, not here. This is not even that. And that's what I'm concerned with. Like, does he think that they gonna save him? Like, does he think that when this all plays itself out, they won't lock him away? Bro, they have plans to lock you. This is probably the plan itself. Yeah, y'all see why I want to talk for 20 minutes for even saying this. But this is what's on my heart, man. I ain't gonna hold much back. And I'm not gonna do anything to put myself in no real danger. I don't believe, unless people are stupid. They can't tell what's good for them. I'm here to help. I'm a praying person of God who don't know nothing of nobody in any way, man. Nobody's paying me a dime to say any of this. I've learned something about myself over the last 24 hours. You know what really inspires me more than being competitive? And I didn't realize this. Love. It inspires me more than anything else. I didn't know it. It came to me in prayer. I'm like, yo, what drives me, Lord? What's actually driving you? It's your compassion, it's your love. Layers and layers and layers of love that I try to display in a multitude of ways that I don't know if it conveys properly, but the Lord helped me understand that's exactly what it is. It's love. I don't want you to suffer your own ills. I've spent my whole life doing so in my own way. I don't want that for nobody. I want people to live for a long time, and I want their kids to live for a long time. And I want them to be able to feed themselves without having to do stuff they didn't want to do. On no level, whether it be the worst of slavery or just some weak job that you don't want like I had. I don't want that for y'all. I want y'all to find what customly is meant for you. I want you to live your lives the way you're supposed to. I want you to contribute. I want you to have a connection with a God above you, whether you believe in one right now or not. He's there, so you deserve to have that relationship. You understand what I'm saying? And no religion is going to either keep you from it or bring you toward it. You got to have that love in your heart and live for the development of that love being layered in your heart if it's not already there. And it will lead you away from having circumstances where you want things that bring about negative collateral damage. You will coerce yourself away from some of that, if not all of it. Especially if you're in a space where your mind ain't messed up in any way. You'll definitely be sane enough to stay away from all that. And that's what it is. I'm trying to help people inspire themselves to develop, if it's not already there, that consciousness, that belief, that welcome submittance to something greater that will bring blessings or curses. But what I've learned is he's fair. He's fair and he's rooting for us. He also moves in love. It's what drives him the most. And when he sees a lack of that, or a lack of compassion, or a lack of self-desire to be better within a lot of us, or no desire to sacrifice for the betterment of others, all that, it just disrespects that love that he moves in. You know, some of these politics that we engage in, it disrespects the love he moves in. And that's what he helps me understand as I speak. So I hope everybody's having a good moment in time. I hope this energy meets you well. Understand that I've said prayers about every single word that I say. All of them, the good ones, the bad, the ugly. It's all been prayed about in its own way. And if I'm wrong in my actions, that'll be revealed whether I like it or not. I don't believe myself to be that way. But at this point, I've watched so many different people fluctuate in their positions, fluctuate in how they act. All I know is it's one day at a time on this earth. It's one day at a time, because one day you think you're on the top of the mountain, and next thing you know, you're on a crash out mission because something went wrong. Just something went wrong. You know what I mean? In a split second. And now you got to position yourself against everything you really want to do, because you have to protect yourself. And you really don't know how. The only thing Jay Prince need to be doing is praying, man. That's it. All this other stuff he doing, positioning himself for all that, none of it's nothing, man. None of it's nothing, bro. You need to be somewhere praying, getting right with God, sitting down, trying to wage a way to knock off the generational curses that you may have waged against him with some of your actions over the years. You need to be ready to do whatever it is he tell you so you can save your son. That's the only thing that's going to actually put you in a position to be okay with whatever's coming. I promise you, man, you are not a god. I promise you, man, it ain't enough people around you to protect you from what's coming if you don't get right with God. I'm telling you this because it's coming to my soul as I'm saying it. My name is BDF 44. I thank you all for watching. I'm out.